This is known as dead air. So what's happening now is Mark is trying to find the music. And this is the off night. My name is Andy Jensen. I usually dance to music at this point. Mark is dutifully looking for the music. And he'll be your host. Oh, there we go. He found this music. He's doing good. Hey, so you're on the off night, folks. It's Mark Sweetman. And not only is he going to be the host, but he's the technician and he's the guy that's making this thing work. So please welcome Mark Sweetman. So as Mark Sweetman gets himself on the air, we do have a couple of extra guys. We have Sam Greenfield, who's all the way from New Jersey, talking to us about the history of comedy.
And all right, here I am.
And there he is.
You know, can I thank you for the intro, Andy? That was and great tap dancing as I screwed up the technical end here.
No problem.
But just and I've said this before. When we started this, it was Seth Ressler, a professional radio guy who, came up in radio when you had to do the on-air stuff and the equipment. When I was in radio, we had 4 people in the studio running the thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was, the host only had to worry about being jovial and pleasant and sound good on the radio. And that's what, and there were the 3 of us behind him that, wrote all the crap and ran all the boards and everything.
Yeah.
Of course, J.P. McCarthy made $3 million a year and we made spot. But,
and all he did was talk. The other guys went back.
And we did all the real work.
Analog tapes.
All he did was
analog
talk.
Tapes.
And the same thing. And then I went to work for Dick Purton for a while. Do you remember Gene Taylor? He was a guy in Detroit. He had a TV show, but he was also
I didn't know that.
He was also Dick Purton's head writer in the final years before he passed away. But who
was Sergeant Sacto?
Oh, that was Tom Ryan.
Tom Ryan, that's right. Yeah. Tom Ryan, he was great.
I wonder if he's still around. I should check him out. Get him on the show. He'd be great. But anyway. So when we had Seth, when we started this thing 2.5 years ago, now we're into episode 128, Seth ran all the stuff and I got to be the personality, the guy that just came on and got to be funny and jovial and interview guests and things like that. And then when he says, I'm leaving, do you want to take it over? I said, I'd like to keep it going. It's a lot of fun. And now I got to do the technical stuff too. And I suck at it. So,
yeah, well,
but anyway, so now I want to go away from sucking because I got something that doesn't suck. I want to introduce the poem.
Okay.
All right. You're still going to be with us, Andy. You're still going to be on mic, Andy.
Okay.
You're still going to be on mic. So, but Susan is about to read her poem here. So let's give it back over to Susan and she'll read our poem now.
Okay.
Hey. So the news this week, if you want to deviate from the poem, you're welcome to, but here's the stories. Let's take time to learn history. Let's take it slow. Let me start over. Let's take time to learn history. Let's take it slow. America's built by indigenous people, you should know. Banks and federal offices are closed. Take a holiday. But let us not celebrate Christopher Columbus Day. Russia thought they'd just waltz in, claim land, and have the glory. Yet Ukrainian forces continue to win and retake their territory. The annexed Crimean Peninsula lost a bridge on Saturday. It crimps a key supply route from Russia's mainland, soldiers say. The goddess was here, and now she has left. Her departure is sad, and we feel bereft. She took her leave and left us sad and filled with tears. The goddess walked among us for just 72 years. It could happen that she in our hearts will live on, but today we are sad because Judy is gone. The goddess made us laugh, her accordion sublime, but she had to depart because it was her time. The petite flower has arrived at St. Peter's door. Judy TENUTA was a gem, a great talent, and more. And that's your poem.
Thank you for the poem. I'm telling you, we should just cut half of that. Was the Judy TENUTA part? I think we should just cut that out and put that as a tribute. Create a tribute page for her.
Yeah,
and we are going to talk a lot about. Let me get Andy back out here now. I had invited.
You're welcome.
I had invited a number of people to join us, and it's just the four regulars. And in fact, Ted Holum. I think if I look up, let me see if. See, I can't identify who we do have a lot more viewers than we normally do, but Ted Holum said he wanted to listen, but he didn't want to join in. And Ted's known Judy longer than any of us. I couldn't get a hold of Bill Brady, Jeff Jenna, Kenny Rogerson. I couldn't get a hold of any of those guys. I did get a hold of Mark Ridley. Mark Ridley's having a date with his wife, and I got a hold of him too late for him to cancel that. But he said if he gets to a spot where he can get on his phone without his wife noticing, he might call. He might call in and join us. And who else? Oh, and Joe Dunkel. Joe Dunkel was going to be with us but he lives out in the country in Tennessee now. I don't know if you knew that about Joe. And he was going to try to get in with his phone, but his phone just kept cutting out on him when he was trying to connect to us. So if anybody's watching us, I am going to put our YouTube link. Oh no, not the YouTube. I'll put both. I'll put as we're talking here. I'll get them out there. I'll put both the YouTube view and the StreamYard, which is how we get into the studio here for everybody. And then they can join us if they'd like to. But we'd like to talk about Judy. And I know, Andy, you interviewed her extensively on her last tour through Michigan. And we have Sam Greenfield with us. And Sam's got stories about every person whoever was on a stage that lived in the last 80 years. And also with us is our regular Jason Grant. And Jason's just a fanboy of the great Judy TENUTA. So I'm sure he doesn't have any personal stories, but he'll be able to add whatever he can. So welcome, gentlemen. And Sam, I had to cut you off. Sam was about to tell me a Judy story just before we went live, and I said, let's save it for the live streamcast. And so go ahead, Sam. Give us your Judy story. I got to go to
Andy. Excuse me, Mark. Before I begin, Andy, I'm from New York.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
You said New Jersey.
I said New Jersey. Sorry.
Billy J had a great line of that's fine. Billy J had a great line about that. He said, I have friends in New Jersey, and they're always bragging about how New Jersey is better than New York. He said, yeah, then let me ask you a question. How come it's free to get into Jersey, but you got to pay to get into New York?
I like that. Boy, do you
so here's my Judy TENUTA story. It's not the only one, but it's my favorite because Judy was not, and I loved her so much, but she was not known for her subtlety, and this was subtle.
No, she was not.
She was driving to a gig. Well, she wasn't driving. The opening act was driving her to a gig, and she had already seen his act once, and it was in Iowa, I believe. And they are driving by an enormous cornfield. And the guy says, you want to hear a great joke? And she looks over to her right and sees the cornfield. And she goes, why don't we wait till we're closer to town?
Oh, man. That is great.
How great is that?
That's a great story.
The other story I have about her is she was Merv Griffin, and maybe the only woman who ever did, but she was doing a Merv Griffin, and she did that thing where she spit her gum out,
right?
And Betty White picked up the gum. Betty White was pissed about it, picked up her gum and said, "Dear, I think this is yours." And Judy said, "Look, I couldn't get mad at Betty. You know how bunged up she must be. How would you feel if B. Arthur was hitting on you every waking second?" And the audience was like, "Oh," and she went, "Oh, shut up. You didn't know B was in the Green Berets? Take it easy."
That's very.
But that Iowa cornfield thing, that is just priceless.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Why do we wait for
You often wondered. I saw her notebook one time, and she would write little lines like that down all the time. So sometimes those would come off the top of her head while she was talking to you or on stage, but other times those had been gems that she had written, just waiting for the opportunity to use them. And she had a great brain for stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
She had great retention.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, well, first of all, before I tell my story, I just wanted to say that we've known Judy over 40 years, Susan and I, and probably we haven't seen her but twice in the last 20. But when we did see her the last time, we weren't even working with her. We just went to a club where she was in the town we were in. And I just reminded me of how gracious she always was to Susan, and always thought of Susan as being part of the Sweetman comedy team, which a lot of comics don't, they sort of discount the wife or the girlfriend or the hanger on or the jokey or whatever. But she was always,
well, yeah.
Yeah,
I refer to them as gag hags.
Judy was a great respecter of. She loved all people. I mean, you could not possibly do anything to offend.
But she
Judy
championed women who were part of the comedy community.
Absolutely. Did you read the LA Times article that Elaine Boozler wrote?
No,
but I read a one-liner. She said she was grief-stricken.
Oh yeah. Have we done? We didn't do tribute shows for Bob Saget or Louis Anderson. I mean, or
I didn't love Bob. I didn't hate him, but I didn't love Bob Saget. I didn't adore Bob Saget.
Yeah, but I mean, Judy's
and I heard he was a prince.
Who? Saget was a great guy. He was a great guy.
Yeah, and so was Louis.
Yeah, they all were great. Gilbert Gottfried was a great guy.
Yeah.
I told you this. He lived across the street from me.
Oh, I did not know that.
And yeah, in a co-op community here, and heavy with Jews. And I would see him walk, and I never ever. You heard that? I never ever made it my business to talked at length with him because I didn't know him that way. I didn't know him to, shoot the shit.
Right.
So I would always say something like, "Hey, Gil, how's it going?" And he'd always say, "Hi, how are you?" And I knew he knew me, but I didn't know him to stop and talk and chat. And I was always scared of if I tried to talk to him and it went nowhere, I'd be like, "Oh God, I'm an idiot." So I just left it at hello. And if he had something to say, I will tell you this though. You remember Louis Ferranda? He was the manager at Catch a Rising Star, and now the manager at Caroline's.
Yeah.
One of the least respected people in the business, and it's just true.
Arguably.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And if Robin Williams was on stage, and excuse me, Caroline Hirsch walked up to Louis and said, "Give him the light," Louis would just do it. She'd give, just give him, okay, whatever you say, okay. And Gilbert despised him. He said, "How the fuck does a guy go from clearing my table to telling me what time I'm on?" And
it's like every room in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. And except I like those guys. And so,
you had to because they could put you in the dumpster out back.
Well, that's exactly right. You know that great Shecky Green line, right?
Yes.
Frank Sinatra saved his life.
Yeah.
Do you guys all know that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So
tell
anyway,
me, to Sam, there might be people in our audience that haven't heard it. It's a great. Go ahead and
Okay.
tell
ladies
do
and
it.
gentlemen,
Go
a
ahead.
lot of people knock Frank Sinatra, but let me tell you something. Frank Sinatra saved my life. I was at the Sands Hotel getting the shit beaten out of me, and it was Frank Sinatra who said, "All right, that's enough."
All right, that's enough, guys. All right. Yeah.
All right.
Shecky's 99 and he can still work, I hear.
Is he 90?
wow.
You know what his real name is?
What?
Sheldon Greenfield.
Oh, how about that?
Absolutely no relation.
Yeah.
Wow, pretty good.
If you're Jewish and your last name is Greenfield, I'll bet you my eyeball that wasn't your name coming over on the boat. So
yeah, I'm
it
sure
just wasn't. It
German,
was
Russian, and Polish
Grunfeld
are
or,
most of them. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you know,
Mm.
Alan King. That was not Alan King's real name.
Got it.
You know,
Yeah.
it just
Well,
wasn't so.
I interviewed Judy about gotta be 14 years ago. It was like for the Current magazine, which is a local entertainment, but it was for the Andover showcase. And I got to meet her downstairs. She was very nice, very graceful. Started the interview, and I found out that she wasn't going to do the Goddess, and she was trying to move away from the Goddess and trying to just do Judy TENUTA as a stand-up comic. And
Really?
yeah, so she was experimenting with it there, and I don't know. The audience was expecting the Goddess, but they didn't get it. But eventually, when she won them over with all her material and stuff, so it was pretty good. And we were just kind of talking about stuff, and that at that time I think John Heffron was doing stuff, and so I said, "What do you think of John Heffron?" I said, It's like so. And then she said, "I like Alonzo better," So okay.
Because John had beaten Alonzo in that competition show. Yeah.
So, but it was other than that, we just kind of talked about her favorite restaurant when she was in Ann Arbor, which would be the that was either the Heidelberg or was the Amadeus. I think it was Amadeus.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she did a great job. Good show that night. It was pretty good.
Do you remember a club? You remember a club in Holland, Michigan, that had a great restaurant?
Holland, Michigan. Great restaurant.
Was it the Pasquale? Was it like Pasquale's?
A boarding house kind of area?
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Applebee's?
No. I think it was called like Pasquale's or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh yeah, something like that.
No, that wasn't it. But I don't remember the name of it. But it was in Holland, Michigan.
What was it?
Was the club sort of like in the back by some water?
Yes.
The showroom? Yeah, I remember that place. Yeah, I think Yoder took it over from whoever booked it before him, and then I think Jerry Donovan books it now. But I can't say.
I haven't been there, and I can't tell you how many years.
A lot of those old clubs that built up a name for themselves in the 80s. Because remember, in fact, this Judy story that I'm going to tell is one where. This is back in the days where we were doing 7 shows a week, and they weren't always in the club. Sometimes you did like 1 or 2 one-nighters before that.
Sure,
driving in there, and of course Judy didn't drive, so the opening act was always driving.
One-nighters were huge in Boston, huge.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so the reason I wanted Joe Dunkel here to verify this story because it was in his room. It was the first time I ever worked with Judy, and they had added a show for Saturday night. Friday was just packed. So we're doing shows at 8 and 10 on Friday, and I wasn't paying attention, and they added a show on Saturday, but didn't tell me they were going to 7, 9, and 11 for these shows. So I come strolling in at 7:45, expecting there to be an 8 o'clock show, and Judy is just going on stage. Well, Joe was the MC, and it wasn't because he was a headliner everywhere else except his own club where he would MC. So it was no problem for him to cover my time. So he gets up there, and so and so I can't remember what the reason was, but somebody talked him. Oh, I guess she had told him that if I show up, that she didn't want to do that much time, that I should let them know that I'm there. And so now Judy goes up and she does about 20, 25 killer minutes. And then she gets this note that I'm there. And so she's going to bring me up. And I'm new at this. You know what I mean? I go, I'm going to follow Judy TENUTA. I mean, is she crazy? And so she goes, oh, he's here. We've talked about him. And I guess they'd mentioned something on stage about me not showing up, or, they needed to get me an alarm clock or something, whatever the jokes were that they told. So she brings me up, and then she goes, and she whispers to me as she shakes my hand as she brings it, she goes, don't hurt yourself. Bring me back up when you need me. So,
wow.
I did about 10 minutes and then brought her back up, and she closed the show. But she wanted to make sure that I got my pay for that.
Well, that's
set.
sweet.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, she says
I have a story about a female comic that's not quite like that. I was working in Providence, Rhode Island, at a place called Periwinkle's, and it was a Friday and Saturday, and my ex-wife had been released that morning from a mental institution. And I picked her up and I said, how would you like to go to a comedy show with me? And she went, fine. So I said, okay, since you seem up for it. So, because I had a gig. And so it was me. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but I can't. And Janine Garofalo.
Oh, dear.
And Janine, who I like a lot, bombed horribly. She was the middle. I was the headliner. Bombed horribly. Every night, every show. So I want to tell you that those 4 shows were the best 4 shows together in one package that I ever did in my life. The audience was laughing, just roaring, okay, the entire time. I actually had someone videotape the last 2 shows I did, and I used that in audition tape to get into other clubs for 5 years.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. And so the last night, which was the best night, the last show, there were 2 shows, Janine closes with, I just want to tell you, you suck. Providence sucks. This club sucks. Periwinkle sucks. The arcade it's located in sucks. And you can all go fuck yourselves. Enjoy Sam Greenfield.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And so I was talking to Barbara.
That's got to be fun to follow.
Oh, yeah. So, but I killed.
Yeah.
Perhaps by comparison, but I killed. And so I was talking to Barbara about this. And I said, something Janine did that pissed me off? I said, besides being there? And she said, no. I said, I was eating, right? And she tried to take a little piece of chicken off my plate. I slapped her head. I said, get your fucking hands off my food. And Barbara shook her head like, I go to her, I goes, don't you know flirting?
Ah.
I go, I know, but I'm familiar with where have your hands been. I know that. And she goes, that's flirting. She didn't take like a whole mound of food and mash it into her mouth. She was flirting with you. And so now go ahead a few years. And Barbara and I are looking for a place to have our wedding. And we settled on a place on 5th Avenue and 10th Street. It was and that's where we wound up getting married. It was a really nice place. And as we're leaving, Janine is walking up the street with a guy. And we talk for a few minutes. And Barbara looks at me and goes, is that Janine Garofalo? And I go, yeah. He goes, oh, she likes you. I went, I think you're drunk. She goes, you are so goddamn dim, it's sad. You could. She said she did everything but curl her hair around her finger. Jesus Christ! Can't you tell flirting? I said, well, my idea of flirting is if the girl sticks her hand down my pants and says, "Well, what do we have here?"
Yeah, comics only like their subtlety on stage, in
That's
real life.
right.
They like to be more. Hey, I was able now. Those of you that joined us after we went live don't know that I had a clip lined up with Judy that I was going to play, and I got it back up here, and I'm going to give it a shot. So bear with me, fellas. You may or may not go in or out during this little attempt.
The old in and out, huh?
The old in and out during this little attempt at
best restaurant in L.A. The In and Out. There we go.
The In and Out. Oh yeah, very very famous.
The In and Out burger.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Let me see here. I don't know. Do you see Judy on your screen yet?
No.
No.
All right. We're trying.
I mean, Jason's a handsome fella, but I don't see it.
Jason's voice is kind of like Judy's. I don't know.
Here we go. I see her now.
Yeah, okay. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start it up. Here we go.
Oh.
Here we go. Come on. I got to hit the sound and the play at the same time. Here we go. Let's see if we get it now.
He takes this as a come on. And who wouldn't? Who would love that? That's right, porno pockets. I can make mere men put on aprons and can red beans. Yeah, I'd like some huggies on you, Tono. So then, who says to me? He says, Judy. He had an accordion too. Could happen. He says, Judy, you should be nice to me, Judy. Judy, be nice to me. I'm sensitive. I just want to sit around with a bunch of men and cry. I said, well, go to a Clippers game.
No, that's all I got.
That's too bad.
Are we back? Did I screw it?
We are.
Yeah.
Everybody's
I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to do a minute-long clip, and that was the one I picked out. I mean, I could have picked out anybody. It had Goddess, it had Love Puppet, it had Stud Puppets, it had it had a good LA Clippers line at the end. So.
Well, did she say men are pigs or the pigs line?
Yeah.
Well,
anyways, that was the Judy clip that I picked out. But there's just like when Gilbert died, I'll probably go through and spend a good 48 hours just watching nothing but YouTube clips of her stuff.
Oh, that's what I'm sorry. That's what I started to tell you about Gilbert, how much he hated Lewis.
Uh-huh.
For every time I was at Catch, every time he walked by, Gilbert would go like this. Hey, queer! Hey, fag! Every time. Hey, homo! Every time. And so Lewis would say, that's really nice, Lewis. That's a very nice thing to say. Said, oh, I'm sorry. How about blowhole? Too subtle? How about Rough Rider? Too much? And I said to Lewis, and first time I ever talked to Gilbert, I said, wow, you were tough on him. He goes, not tough enough.
Oh, man.
He said, I have never seen anybody less qualified for a job in my life. He said he's making and breaking people's careers. This is the hottest club and he was speaking straight. He wasn't talking like Gilbert, He said, this is the biggest and hottest club in New York. If you get seen by someone here, they can make your career. They can make you rich. They can make you famous. And this putz does not have the right or the intelligence or the discernment to make that decision. And I thought to myself, I thought to myself, no one has ever heard Gilbert Gottfried use the word discernment before until now.
But he still works at Caroline's, right? He's still doing it, right? He
Oh,
be
yeah.
he must be doing something right.
Well, if it ain't broke, break it. He's just, it's what I've said before. He will do whatever he's told to do. But I remember when Joe Falzerano was at Caroline's. And I was there very early in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and to see a reading of a book that Joy Ahern invited me to hear. And there were other people there, it wasn't just me. And before I got there early because that's how I go. I get places early. The other 5 managers, yeah, you heard me, 5 managers at Caroline's were having a meeting. And Joe wasn't there. And then you hear certain lines and you never forget them. One of the managers said, look, I know Joe's an asshole.
Hey, we're going to have to get that mic closer again.
Yeah, we're losing you.
We're losing you on the mic. We're going to have to get that mic closer. We're losing you.
How about now?
Still,
how about now?
That's better.
That's better.
The closer you are, the better.
How about now?
The closer you are, the better it is.
Good.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah, you're not that ugly. Go ahead.
So
move it up close to your face. You're fine.
You're right. So one of the managers said, look, I know Joe's an asshole, but he has to be. And I thought, I've never heard anyone describe that way. Ever. And then Joe left Caroline's, and you know what he did for a living after that? He opened up a pet store.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, filled with relatives. Must be all snakes.
A reptile house. There you go.
Oh, he's a bad guy. Ooh, Jesus. Man. You know how Caroline got started, right?
No.
You know how Caroline got started, right? Her husband was a filthy rich hedge fund guy. I don't know what you called him back in the 80s, but he was one of those guys. He was worth like over $1 billion. She used her money to Caroline at that location. She did 2 other locations before that.
Oh dear.
Then on 8th Avenue and 26th Street.
Hey, Mark, take me out. See if that helps his Mike.
Yeah, you know what? We need to get Sammy a headset or something.
Yeah.
Now we're losing the
I have
picture
a
now
headset.
too. Not just the sound, but the picture's gone too. Now.
Is this your phone or computer again?
Oh, it's a phone.
Oh, okay. That should work. Do you think we if I drop out, do you think you'll get a better reception?
I don't know, but there's a cat.
Let me get
somewhere.
let me get my headphones.
That's my cat. Sorry.
That's all right.
Got it. All right.
How is it now?
You're great.
The closer you get to the microphone, the better it is.
There you are.
How is it now?
That sounds good. All right, go back to your story.
Yes. So ex-husband, now ex-husband, was still rich, and the divorce settlement is
something's weird. It's like you say, well, how is it now? We get it perfect. Then you do something. What do you change between that and that?
I don't do any.
Uh-oh.
Now he's gone.
Well,
all right. While he's gone for this moment, what did what's his name do to change his act to suddenly become the king of Sunday night? What did Joe do to change his act to become king of Sunday night?
Were you there when he did it?
I wasn't there. I was at the end.
Why, did you hear about it or what?
You told me.
Oh,
what I missed?
You told me.
He had. Well, first of all, we gave him Jason's spot because Jason wasn't there.
Yeah.
And the second thing, did you see how many civilians we had there?
Yeah.
Damn it.
That's the that's the largest number of non-comics and comics friends that we've ever had there. We're starting to really get an audience, like a real comedy audience.
Fantastic.
And he got Jason's spot.
There we go.
That sounds good. Yeah. So, but we're
I
answering
sound
a
okay
question.
now?
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. But right now we're answering a question that Jason asked while you were gone about last night's live show that we do. But anyway,
Why
so
won't
he
leave?
went up,
Oh, I'm sorry.
he went up there and he did, and I sat next to Tim the whole time, and we're like, what happened? How do we get this kid here? The only thing I can think is that Steve Smargon was at the dojo last week, not this week, but last week, and kind of ripped into Joe for not taking any advice from anybody. And pretty much what he said was, look, if you come to these workshops where other comics help you out and work on your material, and you don't take anyone's advice, and you say, but I want to do it this way, I want to do it that way, then you know everything. Why are you here? Go out there and make your gazillion bucks. You're the best comic ever. Obviously we don't know anything because we're the ones holding you back. So get out there and do it. And so I think what he's done now is I think he took that scolding and said, maybe I should listen to the guys. Help me out here. And one of the big things that you do, and this is all new comics, and he's not new. He's been doing this 9 years. And that is, you like a joke, you like a joke. And sometimes, all right, I'll retool it, I'll do this. But Joe doesn't even do that. He likes a joke, and week after week after week, he'll tell a joke that just does not get a laugh. Mm-hmm. And he dropped those jokes this week. I mean, he finally listened.
You know what's worse than that? Sorry.
What's that?
Yeah, you know what I think is worse than that? Is to have a joke and 1 week it kills, and next week it dies, and the week after that it kills, and the week after that it dies. Like that. And I loved it so much, but I couldn't take the rejection of these. I died. I gave it up. I just gave it up.
I had jokes like that.
Mark, try and drop me out. Drop me out. See if the
Now it's just you and me, Mark.
Oh no, Sam's still here.
Okay, good.
Oh no, Sam's gone now too. All right.
Because I'm going to sound like a Tom Waits sound check.
What was it you said earlier? Mercedes McCambridge?
Yes. And when I get sick like this, my humor goes into these really dark places. And earlier today, I'm trying to riff on something funny like the National Socialist Easy Bake Oven.
Oh, that's funny.
And I'm not sure I'm going to be. You think so?
I just like the sound of the National Socialist.
The National Socialist Easy Bake Oven. Yeah,
that just sounds like a great title for something.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm sorry,
when
but
I'm sick. I always have people. What's that? Okay, Sam's back in. Yeah, well, we can see at least, but your voice sounds like it's coming through a tin can.
Well, it is.
Now we can't. Oh, is it? That's what the problem is. He's doing the tin can bit. Well.
Isn't it Michigan?
You know what I think we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna take this clip and send it to Sam, because he can't really hear what we're hearing.
Oh dear.
I mean, not after the show. I'm not gonna do it now. So yeah, because he can hear us like I can hear you.
Right.
But when he speaks, that's when he gets all garbled. Right? He's off now, so I'm gonna add Andy back in until Sam gets back on.
Well,
I love the Tom Waits impression.
Losing Andy didn't do anything.
No.
I know. I love the Tom Waits impression. That was pretty good. I never see you. You're always in the dark. It's going up this unusual. So it's going to the light that's unusual. You're always somewhere in the dark material, my friend.
Let me just say this while my voice is, because again, I'm going to sound like Tom Waits channeling Candle in the Wind here for a second. in all seriousness, I at the time you guys knew Judy, you knew all of these comedians, and of course I'm just as Mark said, I'm just a fanboy, and I don't put that in any other context than that. But at that time, comedy really meant a lot, and it was also in a time when comedy was changing, when it was coming out of the '70s and really evolving into the '80s. And it wasn't just, a guy up there with a 5-minute routine. It was these people who could do characterizations and be outrageous. And she's coming out at a time when you've got Bobcat Goldthwait, Sam Kinison,
Clay.
the Andrew Dice Clay.
Yep.
And yet she can go on stage with those guys and hold her own.
Boyfriend at that time.
And she was funnier than hell. I mean, and this also, by the way, you also had Paula Poundstone. And
fantastic. Yeah.
And Paula Poundstone, but her style is something I've always admired because it's so subtle. It comes at you.
I'd include Margaret Smith in that group too.
Yeah,
Margaret Smith. I interviewed Margaret Smith.
So I mean, I just hearing that she'd passed away, it's like, oh man, that just it is a chunk of my youth that is now consigned to history. I mean,
this has been a big year for comics passing away. I mean,
and who knows, I might be joining that list sooner rather than later. I mean,
well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. You still have many unclub shows.
I still have that, and I also have a show in Detroit. And for the first time in a long time, instead of thinking, oh, I'll be terrible, I'm thinking, of course I belong there. I've worked hard for 10 years to be there, and I'm going to go up there and do the best 20 minutes of my fucking life. And hopefully they laugh. And if they don't, well, they don't. But I earned my right to be on that stage. And I'm going to go up there and I'm going to take it.
Here's what you do better than anyone that's out there right now. And that is when you bomb, you admit it to the audience. And then you do a joke that the audience feels like you bombed on purpose. You could tell that next time. Well, that's a great skill to have.
That's a trick I learned from Johnny Carson, probably the greatest.
You're right. That's a Johnny Carson trick.
That is, and like I say, when you go up there and you die like the 1996 reboot of Godzilla, there's only one thing you can do, and that's just own that bad boy and go home with the radiation burns and live to fight another day. So again, I'll try and finish that riff on the National Socialist Easy Bake Oven. I'm sure there's a few more little ornaments I can hang on that tree. But we'll see. Because you're right. I've been doing a lot of dark related humor of late. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, your audience. If you go too light, you'll lose your audience.
I actually had someone very nicely tell me last week that they love my delivery, and that I'm a good writer, and they weren't trying to. It was just, like, wow, no one's ever said that to me before. And I mean, not without me paying them $20 and offering to unlock the handcuffs and, and the usual sort of stuff. I mean, it was very nice. It was, that after all these years, I finally got to some kind of a place. We'll see how it goes from here. I mean, like I say, I'm 61, pushing 110. So.
Well, we just had such a great audience.
We've had some really great shows in the last month.
Yeah, we have. I knew that was going to happen as soon as, and here's, you guys may discount this, but in the summertime, we got all that light that's coming in.
Yeah.
Including from behind the stage. So the best show this summer was the one where the police were arresting that guy that had rushed the stage.
Yes. Yeah. That. And you got Ned off and threw me up there.
That was a genius. I am now lauded for that move.
It was a great move.
It was a great move. And Ned said to me, I never could have done what Jason did. So that was a great, you're pulling me off the stage. He wasn't upset by it at all. He says, you pulled me off the stage, put Jason up there while the cops are wrestling with the guy behind you. Sam, you got to we're on a stage. And right now it's dark by the time we start at 7:30. But back then in the summer, it was light until the end of the show at 9:30, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
and so here's the police wrestling this guy had rushed the stage, the bouncers, and when I say bouncers, I shouldn't really call them bouncers. It's the people that serve the it was a one bartender bouncer. The bartender, it was Brett and Claire. So you got a man and a woman who are normally serving food and drinks behind the bar. They come out, they pull this guy out, and
she's got some Doc Martens on her feet that'll kick your ass. Have you seen those boots that girl's wearing?
Yeah, but it wasn't. They weren't doing bouncer techniques. It says, "Okay, get him out of there." They're like wailing on this guy.
Yeah,
just wailing on him.
Yes,
I know.
What was funny was the best part about it was while we're watching the comments on stage, the audience is not paying attention because after Claire and Brett are done wailing on him, the police show up and this guy they were kicking out is thinking that, oh, good, the police are here and they're going to stop wailing. And then the police start wailing. It was almost like it was scripted for the audience.
And you have to go with that. You can't go against it. There's nothing you can do.
I know.
With something like that.
Now that we don't have that daylight on the street outside, we don't have to. Now we can actually start doing shows, and
it's not your night here at the.
It's not your.
Not your night here.
That reminds you know what, I'm going to remember that for next summer. We'll actually plug it that way. We'll just say, and when we get to the summer solstice, the end of June there, where it's in Michigan, Sam, we are in the western part of the Eastern time zone, so we get daylight until 10 o'clock at night. So, I mean, there's just no way you're going to get away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not your night. That would be a great little, in fact, we could do, remember Andy, when we used to do those little theme shows at the Unclub 8 or 9 years ago? And that would be a great theme. And everybody tells stories about it. It's not your night. It wasn't my night.
Right. Yeah.
The show that I wish had never happened, but I'm glad it did because I got this story out of it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well,
those are pretty good.
The point is, you've created an element where people can genuinely learn and explore and move forward. You know, because when you're at Ridley's, when you're at Ann Arbor Showcase, when you're doing their open mic, let's face it, it's a tense thing because you want to do it really, really well. Unclub allows you to relax a little bit.
Yeah,
the audience is right in your face. You're right there on top of them. They're
Well, the Unclub is what open mics used to be in the 80s.
Yes.
It's not showcases. It's to work your material. You know
exactly. You
know, when I was out in LA, you had the Improv, the Laugh Factory, and the Comedy Store. And then those were the showcase clubs where you were under pressure all the time. There were always industry people there. Somebody could make or break you. And then there was the Ice House, Igby's, and the Comedy and Magic Club, which were a joy to work because you were just working to people who were not there to be seen. They were there to see you. You know what I mean? It wasn't so many times I'd be at the Improv and there would be more famous people in the kitchen outside in the dining room outside the showroom than there was up on stage, and it was like there to be seen type of thing.
The worst thing I remember was not the worst, but the most embarrassing was I was working a gig with Rob Bartlett and I had a great set. And after the show, we're just standing there and it's like a reception line. People are walking by. You were great. And this one woman, older woman, walks by me, looks me up and down and goes, "Your friend was funny."
Not your night.
Not your night, Charlie.
Not your night.
Which reminds me, the Raiders are beating the Chiefs 7-0.
All right.
In the second quarter.
Hey, how about them Jets?
How about them Giants? How about that whole Eastern Division?
Yeah, the Eastern.
Except for my hometown team.
Well, yeah, but they wouldn't do anything this year anyway because they're in such a tough division. So even if they were 500,
that's true, but you got the Eagles who are undefeated. You got the Giants, and I got to tell you something. I think that the Cowboys have to ask themselves about Dak Prescott. This kid is killing Cooper Rush.
Yeah. And Dak seems like he's made of glass. Sorry.
Hey, you know what? And Dak did the same thing to the last guy.
Well, they're saying that when Dak is healed, they just give him the ball and he comes in. If he sucks, it's going to be war in that city. If he comes in and they lose that game and it's like 3 interceptions and it's going to be bad.
Yeah, the Lions
except for Cooper Rush's agent.
Yeah. The Lions had the top scoring offense in the league and was 1-3. And they proved the pundits wrong. Don't call us the best. We'll just go out and score no points.
Yeah.
We'll show them.
We'll
Yeah.
show
Those
them
are those guys.
against the defensive coordinator that was the head coach that we ran out of town.
Well, they have a sign outside of FedEx Field in D.C. It says, "So you want to see mediocre?" We don't lose by a lot, but we guarantee we'll lose.
I wonder if the Commanders were hoping that they would have as much good luck as the Guardians did this year.
But you know something?
Oh, wow.
First of all, the Guardians at least has some relevance. Washington it's not landlocked. The Potomac River on one side, the Anacostia River on the other. But the Commanders of what? Of what?
Oh, they're the commies, guys.
You know what?
They're the commies.
They were the football team for 3 years. I think they should have just kept.
I thought they should have stuck with that.
Yeah, I thought.
I do. WFT.
And everybody got used to it.
And also, WFT is great for what fucking trash. So you have that.
But yet they were the team that had a history of outright racism, the longest of any team in the NFL, and the first one to win with a black quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Which is irony beyond anything you can imagine.
When they
because George Preston Marshall, who ran the team,
yeah,
I'll tell you who else was a terrible racist and proved it in the way that he ran the team.
60s.
Tom Yawkey of the Red Sox.
Yeah.
People forget he was from the South.
Well, you didn't have to be from the South to be an outright bigot. I grew up in the North and ran into plenty of.
Well, that's
folks who-
okay. The thing I loved about the Red Sox when they sucked, which was for a long time.
We can go back to this. We can go back to this, Sam. I just want to make a point to people that are just tuning in now that saw the flyer for the Judy TENUTA Remembrance show. We ran out of Judy stories at 45 minutes. So, all right, go on with your.
The first black player they hired was a guy named Pumpsy Green, and Pumpsy was an okay player. He was okay. He wasn't great. He was okay, and he became very good friends with a guy who was one of the last two-way players in sports, Gene Conley. He played for the Celtics and he played for the Red Sox. Like Dave DeBusschere played for the Detroit Pistons, and he played for the Knicks. Okay, so one day,
Pistons.
Am I right?
Pistons and White Sox. He played
White Sox. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So one day, Pumpsy is on the plane back with Gene, and Gene says to him, "What are you doing when we land?" And Pumpsy says, "I don't know. I guess I'm going home." He goes, "You want to go to Israel?" And Pumpsy says, "Well, I don't know." He says, "I'll pay your way. It's all right. I don't care." He goes, "Well, yeah, all right, shit. Yeah, I'll go."
Yeah.
And they jumped on a plane and they flew to Israel.
Wow.
They came back 3 days later. They missed. Gene didn't miss a start, but Pumpsy missed a game he was supposed to be in. And they made up some huge lie, some enormous lie about how, they almost got held up and Pumpsy rescued Gene. Gene was 6'7". By the way, Gene was 6'7" and Pumpsy was 5'10". So put that one to rest. And how dare you say that, Pumpsy risked his life, you son of a bitch. And because he was the first black player, as I remember this very well. So Gene said, "I just figured that if I blamed it on racism, the Sox would cave." And by God, they did. And they caved. It was unbelievable.
Well, speaking of caving, how about those Blue Jays?
Wow. Have they removed the apple from their throat yet?
Yeah, really. And the Mets.
Shit.
The Mets had a shot.
The Mets to me were worse, and I'll tell you why. Because the Mets won 101 games.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And the Mets, and by the way, I smell disaster for the Mets right away, and I'll tell you why. First of all, they got swept by they got swept by the Atlanta Braves.
They got swept by San Diego. The Mets did. The Mets
lost.
But the Mets
lost to the Braves.
Right.
To determine who won the division.
Gotcha. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the weekend series. You're right. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Right. That wasn't the playoffs, but determine who won the division. and the Braves kicked their ass. And it wasn't that they lost; it's how badly they folded. It was
Yeah.
like that. You know the old saying about a team's just glad they got there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we finish first or not. It doesn't matter because as long as we're in, it matters a lot if you get that bye week.
It does.
It matters a lot. The Yankees are rested as hell.
Yeah, and so
The
are
Dodgers
the
are
Dodgers.
like the Dodgers need it, but the Dodgers are rested as hell. Any kinks you might have, any sores you might have, you work them out.
So who got the bye?
And Scherzer,
the Yankees, the Astros, the Dodgers, Astros,
and the Braves.
Dodgers, and the Braves. Okay. All right.
I mean, when Scherzer pitched, they had to bring in someone from the Atomic Energy Commission to get rid of his new razor burns. Jesus Christ!
I tell you what,
the way DeGrom started that game, DeGrom started that game on Saturday, though, the fans were really up for that. They thought that finally we're going to do something here.
Yeah, it was final, all right.
Yeah, it was. They won that game. It wasn't enough to take the second one, though.
Well, the thing I thought was funny was they were selling spine protectors to the outfielders for the Mets because their backs kept hitting the wall watching Scherzer pitch. And this is a Hall of Fame pitcher. This isn't a hack.
No.
But I think he could be done.
Well,
I think you're right. If
you're not going to deliver in playoff time, then when are you going to deliver? Huh?
Who the best ERA in the American League this year was Verlander, and everybody thought he was done too. So you never know.
Yeah, he's had a couple of years.
But he had an ailment. That's why they thought he was done. Scherzer's ailment was that he hurt his neck watching the ball go over his head.
Scherzer, we had them on the same pitching staff at one time.
Scherzer, Porcello, and Verlander.
We had Scherzer, Verlander, Porcello. We had David Price. And who was the fifth guy? Doug Fister. That famous trade.
Yep.
The Fister-Furbush trade. That's for me.
Fister and Furbush sounds like a great name.
That was my dancer name in the 80s.
Fister Furbush. It was. We loved it here in town because it was known as you could either way you said it, the Furbush Fister or the Fister Furbush trade. We traded one for the other, but it was great just to be able to say Fister and Furbush in the same sentence.
My favorite name of all time was Peter Lecoq. I mean,
yeah.
You know who it's right?
Yeah, Peter Marshall.
Peter Marshall.
Yeah, I remember
which means their name is Peter Lecoq.
That's true.
And now you can't call it. You can't. You can't.
If you're ever gonna have Lecoq in your name, do you really want Junior as part of it?
Even Peter.
You can go on the Groucho Marx show. Do you have any little Lecoqs at home?
I think even Peter North had to change his name. So.
Yeah, who's he now?
Who did?
Peter North, a male entertainer of the 1980s and early 1990s, renowned for certain physical attributes and the ability to drown his co-stars. Yeah, I think that's about. Sorry, guys.
I like that. Now they give this little music, the tech for this music. Now that I know how to use it, is a lot better than all their other technical stuff here. I like
We're at the end of the show.
I can slowly bring it up. Oh, there's also a new. I've been using StreamYard for 2.5 years now, but there's a new program up called UMax or UMax, something like that. I'm gonna try. I may call you guys during the week and see if we can set up like a test for that.
Okay.
They offer some of the things for their free product that you have to pay for to get with StreamYard. So we may be switching. We'll see. Anyway, we're to the end of our hour. 45 minutes of the hour was with Judy, and then we just had some fun like we always do for the last 15 minutes. We'll be back here next Monday night at 8 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. Drive safely. Tip your waitresses.
Tip your waitresses.
We'll be here again next
Yes.
week. Good night, everybody.
Watch some Judy Tenuta.
Bye.
God bless.
Bye.
God bless her. May she rest in peace.